What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sammy Sheva.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please, consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
And yes, okay, what's up, everyone?
Bip.
Hey.
We filming?
Yeah, we're
Hi.
on.
We're on.
There's
We're doing it.
there's no structure here. It's just
Yeah, very cool. I like the ornaments at hand here.
Thank
Does
you.
it look like a penis?
Which
trying
item?
No, yeah. This looks like a penis. Everyone's agreeing. But
I mean, yeah.
we need to separate the balls.
Well, I got rid of one salt lamp because it would just really look like a penis.
Yeah.
It's like behind.
Yeah. But I think
Yeah,
it's
no,
better
yeah,
like that.
you know, I agree. That's probably a strong move.
Have you seen this?
No,
This is
but I am seeing it now.
Yeah, live.
Oh, did you get that in Chichen Itza?
in Mexico, but not at Chichen Itza, somewhere else. Probably not far, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that before in Chichen Itza.
Yeah.
Go figure. It's really cool, eh? Like it actually sounds so much like a jaguar, which
feel like
is
I'm doing it wrong.
native to that part of the world.
Oh yeah, as soon as I heard it, I had to get it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like
super
one of
cool.
those people.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Is it just me? I feel like there's like a right way to use it, and like we're not doing it right.
I think maybe, yeah.
Well,
It's like this close to a jaguar,
I think
but
you
it's
have to
not
blow
a
harder,
I'm gonna try again
or maybe not cover the front. I don't know.
because I from what I saw them do, they did that.
Oh,
just to get the wow.
Yeah.
Like the. Yeah, we could do.
Yeah,
we
well,
could do
it's
it.
close. It's close.
Just get like a playback on YouTube and then like try to mimic it. We'll get any
Edit.
fucking who.
I'm like that though. Anytime I go on vacation and I see like some like weird shit that they built, I have to get it. I'm just
Yeah.
one of those people.
Chichen Itza is super weird too.
Yeah.
Like they just have like an amphitheater where like if you stand in a certain area and you make a sound,
You
like
clap.
you hear something crazy. I don't remember what it is. Obviously, I was paying attention.
Yeah, apparently,
that?
because you would stand right like in a certain position in front of the pyramid and clap, and you would hear your clap go all the way to the top.
Oh right, like a
bing.
bing.
Yeah.
yeah,
there's
it's
this
an
weird-
amphitheater, right? So it's like acoustically built
That's
for
so cool.
perfection.
I think
Yeah.
I saw that on YouTube somewhere, and the sound was like unreal.
Yeah.
I can't even remember it now. It's like that video where like the guy's skipping rocks on that like ice lake,
oh yeah,
and it's going like like it sounds like a laser
Yes,
sound.
It was
like,
really cool, actually.
I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
what's that? I talk about it all the time on the podcast. There's like a spot in Montreal. I think it's like
Oh, is
Square
oh
Victoria.
No, are you talking about the silo in the old port?
No, that's
That's another acoustic
another one.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's near my house.
is it Square Vic? The it's near Bonaventure
I'm not sure.
on the Orange Line.
Squares
not in
Vic.
your
Yeah,
brain.
Square Victoria. I don't know. But like this place is famous. Like there's so many YouTube videos of people going to sing there because there's like such a
Oh.
clean echo and that it's like a delay. And I got there and I was like, God, I
It
was
might
just
be
clapping,
Square
I was
Vic, actually.
whistling. Dude, it was
It might
amazing.
be Square Vic because I remember in the summer people were doing weird shit, so maybe it was there.
Dude, it was fucking amazing. I was whistling and like it's like you'll clap and you'll get like a tack 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 tack. Like it's
Crazy.
really feels weird.
Like
It's
a
really
delay.
yeah, like it's the coolest effect. I was tripping out for like 20 minutes.
Whoa.
I was just having fun whistling. I was like recording it and showing it to my friends and stuff. I was late for a dinner and I was like, guys, this is why I'm late. And they're like, we don't care, come.
I got to check that out in the summer.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm gonna go back there.
Going back
Yeah.
to Mexico talk, did you see that stadium there where they had that where they would play that ball game with,
Yeah,
like the little rings?
the game from Road to El Dorado. I don't know if you guys know it as that game, but it's totally how I know it.
I got
Have you seen that movie?
Road to El Dorado? No.
I don't think
Cla-
I've seen
classic Disney tunes. I don't even think it's Disney, but regardless. We're not going to talk about it now because none of you have seen it.
it. Yeah, no.
But yeah,
such a
that's
movie guy, too,
that's
damn.
crazy too. They're like throwing these balls of rock through these hoops with their hips.
No arms and legs were allowed touching it, right? It was the hips.
I'm not an
Something
expert
like
on the
that.
subject.
Yeah. But what was terrifying is they had the engravings of how the game worked on like one of the walls.
Wild.
And
Oh, yeah.
It was
Okay.
showing like the lineup, like team player, and then
Just
captain.
pictures. It's like
Yeah, and the captain was kneeling down with his head chopped off, and the other captain was holding his head, and that was the rules of the game apparently.
Damn.
The winners.
The winners get their headshot.
It might even be that the winners get their head chopped off, and the losers. The losers win, like in some weird way. I don't know how it works.
They have to kill the winners, but the winners get to like go to whatever heaven was for them.
I don't want to be captain of that team.
Yeah.
Like that's a real weird high school dynamic, you know?
You can only be captain once.
I made captain.
Get your affairs in order. Your team's really good.
Imagine how terrified.
Yeah, too much maybe. Yeah, Chichen Itza's a weird place, man. They have this other spot where it's like a stone that like comes into a peak at the top of the pyramid. Again, not an expert on the subject. That's just what I remember from the tour that I did. But like that's where they would like lie the body on it and like press it down and extract a still beating heart.
Yes.
Yeah. Very Indiana Jones, but
terrifying.
also very real.
I didn't see that
real
coming
part
at all.
of
It was
history.
terrifying.
That was so visceral.
Yeah,
It just hit me like, what the fuck?
They're a crazy society. Like,
Ooh, okay.
really like beautiful architecture and like so advanced in like so many ways. Wild.
And yet, like, well, I don't know. It's not that it's regressive in some way. It's just like the attitude towards death is so unique from civilization to civilization.
Yeah.
I think also like over time we try to kill people less.
Right?
Right.
They're like complaining about it.
Like all over the world, we've been like massacring people, like hopefully less and less, but
Like,
nonetheless.
hey, you killed my husband because you said the crops would grow or whatever.
You know,
It's like they didn't grow, so like maybe
the Crusades, all of that. There was a dark times all over the place once upon a time.
all
That
the
place you're-
samurai stuff too.
Yeah.
All this, there's just so much killing.
That place you're talking about in Mexico is they sacrifice, like if you Google the number, it was like insane. I think it was like a couple million within a few days. Like it was really fucked up. And it was to save the world from like, they believed like when the sun would go down that they had to sacrifice
For sure, right?
X amount of people for the sun to come back.
Well, that's it.
like, really
Violence
fucked.
usually comes from like a lack of knowledge, right?
Yes.
They're seeing volcanoes explode, maybe not volcanoes in that part, but like, a storm or something, you don't know what it is. Your parents tell you it's God and you have to appease God and
Whatever.
not,
Or a specific god.
Yeah, I'm just, obviously the more information that we have, like I think better decisions we can make.
Maybe they were onto something.
Save the climate.
Sacrifice people. Maybe they were onto something.
Yeah.
Maybe they were onto
Like,
something.
we're overpopulated.
Yeah. Just we gotta dust off that triangle thing that you were talking about and start
Awful.
cracking people.
Did you see any other structures in Mexico, or was it just?
Oh
Chichen
my
Itza?
goodness! You know what? Not on the same trip. I've been to Mexico a couple times. Nice. My dad spends a lot of time there, and I had seen some ruins. Ixtapa, it was really nice. I think that's probably about it, though.
Okay.
Honestly, Mexico's really beautiful, and like I don't know, Chichen Itza blew me away. It's just like not the kind of thing I've seen before.
It was crazy.
And it's so close to home, right? Well, I mean, relatively, but
I think we just feel that way because, like, if I go see my uncle in Victoria, it's like an 8-hour flight. And it's like, oh, Canada's just wide as fuck. And it's like, I can get to Mexico, like, in less time.
True, that's true.
Boosh.
That's true. But yeah, still, it was really, really cool to see. And, like, it's the Yucatan Peninsula, right? That's where Chichen Itza is, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm so bad at geography. I'm gonna pass over to you.
I'm just gonna say yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like crazy wildlife there too. It's just like pretty badass place to go.
Isn't it crazy when you like see, like, especially when you take a flight, but like when you go to other countries and you see like how untouched a bunch of the world is? Like so much of it is fucking gorgeous. I know we're wrecking a lot of shit, and it's like the numbers are staggering, and you can go online and like see it. You can see like satellite pictures and just the Amazon's getting like zik, 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 like a printer in reverse. Yeah, it's
Makes
terrifying.
me anxious.
I know. I don't like it.
They cut down a Texas-sized amount of trees in the Amazon per year.
I didn't know that.
That's like the
That's
most. When I heard that, I was
absolutely
like,
horrifying.
"That's fucked up." Texas-sized amount of the Amazon per year disappears. We're going pretty depressing in this episode, but
We didn't even really intro you. Like I feel like whoever's watching is like, who the fuck? What's going on?
We just jumped right in talking
exactly.
about the phallic objects on the table.
Yeah, it's
Seemed like a natural place to start.
for all the audio
bookmark
listeners,
it, yeah.
audio listeners, check out our YouTube channel to see what we're talking about on the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is for the audios.
It's a whole segment.
This is a dick flute.
Big flute.
So yeah,
That summons the dick.
so introduction.
Intro. Yeah. Do you want to intro yourself? Like, we don't have to talk you up. But
Whatever you want. I'm Audrey Paquette. I'm a human being.
Shit.
Yeah.
I had suspicions.
One of those.
Now you know.
Cool.
I don't know. I like to paint. I'm a painter. My like stage name is Alpha Mars because a lot of you guys look me up with that name. So yeah.
Alpha Mars.
And I'm part of like an all girls collaborative art collective. I guess collaborative becomes redundant if I word it like that. But regardless, and it's really cool. It's called Wolf Lab. We help women practice art more frequently and develop a financial infrastructure for them to do so.
Whoa.
I help them sort of develop that, hopefully, with some coaching support and just days where we make art together. So it's pretty rad. It's like what I'm passionate about right now.
That sounds fucking amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've
Thanks
just
so much
been-
for having me. This is pretty cool. This
Yeah.
is a very cool passion project also.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
Appreciate it.
I
It's an
understand.
honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Kindred in a little sense, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't feel like this takes that much practice or effort though. Like I feel like I think I said it to you already, but like when we started hanging out like a million years ago, I walked into your place and like you had a painting and like it was already pretty good. Like you were painting. It's like 10 years ago, like 12
They were
years
bad.
ago. Well, yeah, I want to get into that after. Yeah, that's always the thing with painters, but
Yeah.
like with artists in general. You
yeah.
paint something, you're done, you're like yes, and then like 10 seconds later, you're like next thing. This sucks. I hate my life. Fucking, I need to don't want to look at it ever again. Like you feel that way? Is that a thing?
Maybe a little bit, but I kind of like a lot of my art.
It's fucking
I mean,
beautiful.
I made it. I mean, if I made it, it's because I wanted to make those things, and I think that I'm not like a realist or anything like that. A lot of what I do is abstract realism or pop art, and so it's like a lot easier to like make something maybe relatively ugly and be like, oh, it's nice, it's art.
Does that make you feel like less strict like while you're creating it because you just don't even know how it's going to come out?
You know what? I actually, that's a really good point because it gives me a lot of liberty to sort of like accept, like sometimes you think you're going to make something and it doesn't look that way and you have to like force yourself to accept the beauty in it and roll with it and take it in whatever direction it's going. And that's kind of a parallel to my life and how I try to, I don't really try to get super anxious about things, although I used to. I practiced a lot of mindfulness techniques and stuff, and now I just kind of roll with it, and I don't force myself to make up my mind about anything, and I just, people are like, what are you going to do about that? I'm like, I don't know. How do you feel about it? I'm not sure.
We'll see. You're just doing this all the time in your head. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
You know what? I always say, like the champion of my life, and like I always put things in time's hand. I'm like, oh, time will decide. Like, oh, like, what are we going to do Saturday? Well, maybe not so much. I'm a little OCD about my planning, but it's like,
fair,
yeah, but like, in a general sense, like, are you going to call him again? I'm like, oh, I'll know when I know. Yeah. When I'm like, I'll call him, then I'll call him.
Takes a lot of weight off your shoulders.
Because time is going to kick your ass in the meantime anyway. Why bother being anxious about what you're going to do before the moment arrives?
I guess it's like you're micromanaging your life in a successful way. And hopefully. Then why worry about the macro? Like why try to really juggle it like in the sense of the future? Like you did what you did your due diligence and now fate.
I imagine a lot of people operate their lives not really thinking about like, ooh, what am I going to do? But I realize that I'm speaking from a place of having suffered from pretty severe anxiety and just gotten over it. Wow. So these were my techniques, and painting was a big part of that. Like, again, it's a meditative exercise, first of all.
Yeah,
that's what I've been hearing.
I could paint for 6 hours and not think about anything else.
And then you're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry and thirsty and tired. Like you just pop back into reality.
Yeah, I've had like full days of painting where I just like take pictures of my table after and it's like hummus and Red Bull. But awesome. It's great. So I try to apply that practice to my daily life, and it's been really successful for me. And hopefully, I don't know, if someone hears this and it's successful for them, it'd be really cool.
I realize it's like a fingerprint. Like there's a lot of people might be kindred and understand each other when they're going through things like a depression or anxiety. But the cure or whatever for the individual is really specific.
Totally.
It's annoying. It's like, this works for me. Yeah. Good luck.
It comes down to what you're interested in doing. Like, if art is your thing, like that can be your meditation when you're feeling anxious.
That's a good point.
You know,
a lot of people go too head on and like, I need to fix. I am depressed, and like you're kind of owning it and defining yourself with it.
It's painful, right? Like you want to get out of that state. I can. But it is so like, and the worst part is like once you've figured out what works for you, you want to impose it on everyone else. You're like, oh, well, I did this and I did that and you should do this. And then when you're hearing it, you're like, I've done this. It doesn't work for me. How frustrating.
It's true.
Yeah, you have to just kind of feel around.
Yeah, you got to try things.
For like a month.
Keep trying.
And sometimes like the depressive state puts you in this little like shield, and then just trying things is the hardest task. But when you start opening up and doing that, that's where the healing comes from.
Yeah, I think trying things and like being nice to yourself, like, you know, if hard. Like if you didn't go and do something cool, just be like, all right, well, you know, you're still badass. Or like, you know, well, you successfully reorganized your socks, you know,
little
like,
victories, you know?
Yeah. I just like, that's another thing. I think like a lot of people out there are walking around with such negative interior monologues. Ooh, people are so mean to themselves.
I spoke about it in one of our podcasts. I was saying like, imagine you had a teacher that would just shut you down on everything you did. You wouldn't go to that teacher anymore. But then when it comes to ourselves, that's how we talk to ourselves constantly, you know? It's just like anything you do, like, oh, that was shit, you suck, blah, 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 blah. But like if you reprogram those thought patterns, it's so comforting and rewarding.
Well, in Wolf Lab, I'm like making art with 11 other women. And a lot of times that involves like, you know, photographs of us or speaking up, you know, presenting something out loud. So a lot of in any art making, there's like all these insecurities that surface, and you get to see, and sometimes unfortunately even hear how many like people just say this awful things about themselves, and it's painful. It's painful to hear your friends like.
I didn't think of that. Like a lot of people are mid process.
I think everyone is.
Well, I mean, like you're literally making art like in a group, you know? So it's such a vulnerable moment though. Like someone could be like, oh, this line is crooked. I'm a piece of shit, you know? Or like, I'm so stupid. So many times that just slips out of my mouth. Like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Like, no, I'm not, you know? Like, calm the fuck down, man.
And even if you don't truly mean it, it still acts as a mantra in your life. You know? That's what I started noticing is like, if you focus on negative things, even if it's just reading articles online about negative news constantly, that is becoming a mantra in your mind. That's repetition over time, and it's negativity. And then that will manifest in something else, you know? Yeah,
for sure. And like the company that you keep, you know, I think is really important as well. I think that, you know, if you, not to say that you should alienate like people that are negative in your life, but try to be around people that make you feel positive about yourself is really important. I think a lot of us also are like sort of seeking this like toxic validation from people that we can't get it from. Like that's the worst part is you seek validation from the people who won't give it to you. That's why you want the validation. And it's such a painful thing we do. I
see that in some of my friends.
Yeah, it's such a painful thing we do to ourselves as human beings. Really, you need to like seek validation from yourself, you know?
You'll never be able to hold it long enough, even if you do get it from those people, because you don't have that like receptacle, like you don't have the ability to. It's
your human nature to like go after what you won't get. Like, ooh, that's not a, you know, it's like you're trying to fill a void that's not fillable.
And that's such a temporary relief, because when you do get it and then when it's gone, it's like you feel good for that moment and then you feel back into the slump again till the next time, you know?
Yeah, you got to love yourself, right?
That's what it comes down to.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
It's so true, though.
Fans? Mama Ru? No. That's where I get all my self-love tips from.
I love it.
Hey, if it works.
It does, for real. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that practicing mindfulness and just doing shit you love, putting that, you know what? I think that you guys can probably really relate in having a podcast that like, it forces you to sort of put this first and maybe, you know, not spend time or do things that are, you know, below your values just because you're lonely, because you have this, have this to be passionate about. Oh, like, I could go out with so-and-so, or I could do this, or I could stay home and work on the podcast. I could edit. I could, you know, think of topics. I could think of guests. etc.
I'm noticing more and more that voice is starting to grow inside. I think because it's still young what we're building, but now I have this like third person point of view. I'm like, oh, is this going to benefit me for the podcast? Am I reading this book? Is this going to help me in my podcast? Or what I'm doing, is this going to, and it all resorts back to this artwork.
Yeah, you're putting deposits in the bank of you, really. I think it's pretty rad. And like, you know, I've like noticed this podcast, it's got good traction.
Yeah, I mean,
I just show up. I can't really take credit. It's all this guy.
It's not us.
I love it.
It's everyone, all the listeners. It's all of it together. You know?
Yeah, but you put in fucking like hours, man. I fucking appreciate it. Like, it's crazy. I literally just like, I'll think of somebody to have on. I'll throw in my opinion, but like you put the place together. I got some equipment lying around. Like I did that too, I guess, you know, but it's a joint effort, man, but you're putting in some sweat.
I realized this is an idea Rogan spoke about, but I saw it because I did ayahuasca over the weekend. I don't know if
yeah, I know what it is.
So I had these intense experiences revelations where I was coming to realize what ideas are. And he talks about this on the podcast a lot, about ideas could be some sort of life force and they just kind of channel through people and come into existence. But ideas in themselves,
that's good.
And
trippy.
But this is
like
where
we're possessed by and we're birthing.
Or
we really are.
We just kind
ideas.
of aligned ourselves with that realm, and that idea. Your life experience led to that moment where that idea just flowed through you.
Fantastic.
So it was like ideas start off as babies. You need to feed it life, and it's your life usually exchanging. And then as the idea grows and grows and grows, eventually it's not even yours anymore. It's like the idea lives on its own.
Definitely.
You know?
That is so cool. I often like make paintings and of like people or characters. They're usually characters, and I'll talk to them while they become like, you know, as I'm painting. Like I did an old couple kissing once, and I painted the girl first, and she was really beautiful, and I just couldn't get the face of the guy right. And I started talking to her. I was like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna give you a hot boyfriend. I'm not gonna leave." And like I would be like, "Do you think I should, you know, join that group? Do you think I should do it?" I would ask her things, and she did have like her own life force. I manifested something.
It came through you
from
yes. Because where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? You know, where is that image of that woman translated into you onto paper? How did that exist?
Yeah, she's not real. She's just, she's real now.
That's it. It's like the painting wasn't real until you made it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's hard to say what's real. It's like you guys are talking about this crazy concept, and I don't want to jump in because I'm just gonna like break it up into so many possibilities.
Jump in, baby.
But I just love it. There's a tangible, real way where thought and like the real world just like are dependent on each other. You know, like a table is not a table. You know, Aubrey Marcus says that shit all the time.
Yes.
Like this is like pieces of wood smashed together to be a table temporarily.
But this was thought of from that ether, that realm. This thing right here was an idea first.
It had to come first.
And now whoever invented this idea, it doesn't matter anymore. We're all using this. This table serves its own purpose. Yeah. You know?
And what's even... no, go ahead.
Please.
I said what's even stranger to me is like I can understand a table being built because of necessity, right? Like invention comes from problems. We have problems, we make solutions. But like art, where's the necessity? I think like I've heard this before. Amber said this, that humans are the only animals that make art. And that's kind of like, I mean, I've seen some birds do some freaky shit with like rocks and leaves and stuff, but
there's a weird line.
There's a line for sure. And I don't know, like I think art is so powerful in an expression of emotion, you know. That's not like, you know, it's definitely not necessary in the world, but in a way it really is, just not in like a fundamental food, water, air kind of way.
Yeah, it's a little more abstract, but maybe it's like a really needed human thing.
Yeah, like what a keen little peek into what a soul might be, what a soul might need. You know, the body needs shelter, what the soul needs is art.
I find art, music, art, and everything is a closer translation of what the spirit is trying to say than through words.
Yeah.
You know, when you see like the perfect picture or artwork or whatever, or song, you hear it, it does something to you that's not at like a intellectual level. There's a change deep inside, and it's inspiration, it's motivation, but there's this feeling. It's like, that is a masterpiece.
And it's less of it's almost like closer to the soul or something. Like I don't know, if I say words like sad or happy or something, then you have a context within the language. So it's almost like you have a wall, like you're at this glass that you're looking through and going, oh yeah, I understand that. But if I play you a song and you actually feel sad.
Yes.
I can't do that to you with words. Or maybe I can, but without saying the word sad.
And what's so satisfying about it is, like, as human beings, we want to know that we're not sad alone. So when we hear a song that's like, oh shit, that's how I feel, you know, we have like this sense of unity with people all over the world. You know, we've all heard "My Heart Will Go On, I Will Always Love You." People all over the world react with so much intense emotion over those songs, over Jackson Pollock paintings, over all kinds of things. It's universal. Isn't that strange? Like, without language, like thing that flows through all of us.
It's like a poor man's telepathy, you know, like Terrence McKenna said something similar. It's
I love
like,
that.
I love it too. It's because I had the same like revelation, and then he said it, and I'm like, this guy's so much smarter than me. So like I was like, oh my God, I really got something. But like he pretty much said, like, I can say a word, I can just make like mouth noises, and you'll know what I'm thinking, like more or less. You know, we argue that you never really know what somebody's thinking, but like we grew up with these words. We know how to use them.
Yes.
And sad means sad because you felt it and then we labeled it. We didn't invent sad because of the word, you know? It's the other way around, the chicken and the egg kind of thing. Like it's we have telepathy. We fucking have it. It's just not what it's not like X-Men, like boo, 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 you know, like I can literally like pop, and then you know what's going on in my head, in my heart, and it's fucking intense.
I mean, you can, the language is so precise that you can give me verbal directions and we can meet in the same place in the world, anywhere.
That's such a cool way of putting it. I never put it that way before.
We can meet at a time with time differences because of time zones. And we can, just by saying blah, 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 we can both be in the same place at the same time. That's how we know language is precise, and that we can, you know, like obviously there's 1,000 ways to know, but it's like fascinating to me that, for sure, we communicate. Yeah,
maybe language was like I mean, it sounds obvious now that I say it, but like we're talking about art and how it communicates and why it might be necessary. And it's like, that was the birth of language. Like we needed ways to say, like, maybe it's a little more direct back in the day, you know, like you need a sound for like water, or like a tiger is behind you or something. but like, you know, now it's transformed into like, you know, like almost, using double entendres and malappropriations and all these little tools and even like percussive poems and stuff where something just kind of sounds cool, but the words might have less meaning or still retain a meaning, and like lyrics in a song.
Art is the language of emotion.
That's it.
Yeah. Sure.
Yo.
That's why. That's why
I gotta hold on to something.
I think Coldplay, for me, they've translated that emotion so well in their music.
Yeah, they're
like,
great.
I don't know, you put on a Coldplay song, I'm already almost in tears. It just,
they're
just happens like that.
It's pop, but it's powerful. Like, it's good. It gets you going. I don't know. Like, I found a song. I watched this show recently on like Prime or something called Hannah. It's like based on a movie. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But there's a song. It's a lot of repeating songs. Usually a show has like, you know, they play a song for like a cool action scene and then they forget about it.
Sure.
But there was these like motifs. Like there's this sonic fucking, you know, like coloring with these songs. And one of them that they kept using every time this person's mother that passed away was like brought up in the show, this song would come on. I forgot the artist's name, but the song's called like Anti-Lullaby. And it's very short and the words are just kind of like do not sleep. And anyway, my point
creepy.
is, no, it's so creepy. Every time I hear this song, I literally think of death. Like I can't, the song is death. I don't know how to explain it. It's really intense. I don't know if I sent it to you or not.
No.
I think I stopped myself because you were at the ceremony.
Okay.
And I was like, he's good. He's like he's drinking death right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it be.
I was in death for sure.
But it's so, like, look it up. It's just amazing. It's fucking beautiful. It's like, it hurts. The song hurts. And it's like 1 minute and 20 seconds. And it's just, you feel like something has died. Wow. I don't know how to put it. But it's just a fucking song.
There's like, I was talking about this with someone the other day, but like, have you ever heard like just a certain like note progression where you're like, oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
And so like, there's like so many songs. There's this one particular song that I have like on my Shuffle. It's a Vince Staples song. And it starts, and it's kind of got this eerie, like semitone.
Ding, dun, dun.
And I'm like, every time I'm like painting, and it's just on shuffle, and I'm like, oh, I gotta change the song. Like I'm home alone, I'm spooked.
Alexa, stop.
Yeah, it's like definitely. There's that's funny too. How in music, there's just like certain notes.
Oh, it
like,
sets the mood right away.
Yeah, like why are minor tone? Why are minor?
Automatic
so
sadness.
sad. Why so sad?
That is something I'd love to explore, like the why, really the why, because it is ubiquitous. It is really a thing that's maybe a little different because of conditioning, but like humans feel the pentatonic scale. They know what comes next. Like Bobby, what's his name? Bobby McFerrin?
Was that a TED Talk? Where
I think so, yeah.
He had the whole crowd, like he was like, bum, bum.
He played them like a piano.
Yeah, and he had sections doing different sounds, and then he was just literally just playing them at one point. It was incredible.
And then he went to he's jumping to kind of show you the notes that he set up, but then he jumps where a place that he didn't set up yet.
And you got it.
Everyone sang the next note, and he goes, they just know the pentatonic scale. No one knows why.
That's so
That'd
strange.
be a cool concert.
Oh, dude, he's the best. He has a few
go to like a
videos.
concert.
I would definitely watch that. Yeah,
I would be a fucking part of that.
Human orchestra.
And you know what's crazy? And you know what's crazy? This is the "Don't Worry, Be Happy" guy.
What?
You know that song?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah, that fucking guy. Don't worry. He's like a musical genius.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Cool. Yeah. I just want to touch on what you were saying before about how like we hear the minor key and we think sad. You know, I was actually talking. One of my friends who's a painter. We wanted to do a project a while ago. I don't think we ended up. I don't know if he got around to it, but we were talking about how. Colors also have that same connotation. If you see like reds and yellows and brights, very happy, and you see blues and purple can be kind of sad, and like, you know, I think colder colors and like dimmer colors sort of carry like a sexier, more melancholic feel. So we were thinking about like maybe painting a song.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if you know, trying to figure out, you know, key per key, what color is, you know, what note and everything like that, and sort of painting something along with the melody.
Man, there'd be so much like
there's a lot
trial
to consider.
And error. Yeah,
there's like, because if every note has like a color or a tone associated to it.
I feel like the way you spoke about like the progression, you know, which is important in music, like one note alone is not going to give you a specific feeling. But the second note will give you an idea.
Definitely.
And then the third note will give you like a conclusion. You're like, oh, this is scary.
Well, yeah, there's scales, right? There's like the Gregorian scale, the Dorian scale. They all sound different. So.
Yeah. And maybe I think painting, like you would like three notes or more maybe would be a color. Maybe like. You know, like you're like obviously onto something. Yeah, a chord. Well,
I would like
even
to see this
progression.
Project. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be a really neat
Yeah.
exercise.
You know, it'd be cool too,
but it'd probably be really hard.
But I think it's a skill. I think you could develop it and even kind of get quick with it, and it becomes a kind of like learned synesthesia.
Do it.
I'm wondering if it would.
I'll try. I love this stuff. Like
yeah, you should.
I used to play.
You're really good at music. You should do it.
I never really got like amazing. I never really sat down, you know. But like when I was young and I was playing on the piano, I just fucked around, and it always came out as like movie music.
Oh,
it was always like these long, like drawn out things, and it would swell and it would calm down, and like I spoke about it with. Well, Lily's sad.
Should I let her in?
You can if you want. Yeah, sure. I spoke about it with Zach actually. Fucking Boucher. Yeah, he's the best. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a while. I almost saw him recently, but I had to go to work. Anyway, Zach, if you're listening, I love you.
We love you, Zach.
Lily, come on. There you go. Oh. Saw that coming. Little jostle.
Got a new guest right now.
Yeah.
Lily, get a microphone. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think it was like a Final Fantasy game or something so random, but he was describing this ending song to, I don't know, Cynthia or someone was, I don't remember who the third person was. And she just didn't get it. You know, like I like the tying colors to the song. Like I don't really get that, but I guess I could learn it. But the feeling in the song is so instant for me. And he was saying like, oh yeah, it's like, it's sad, but like it's conclusive. It's like, it's happy, but we lost something along the way, you know? And it's such a complex feeling, but I was like, yeah, man, like I was jiving with him.
Yeah.
And I can create feelings with music, and I don't fully understand it. It's just cool.
I think like that's especially true, like when classical music was more prominent, you know, whole stories, like really plot-driven stories were written, you know, based purely on, you know, symphonic sounds.
It's recently, sorry.
Yeah, you were just meant to like sit there and imagine what was happening, right? Which we don't really, I mean, we still do. It's just not, you know, in the foreground of our media. But it is something that, you know, we used to tell whole stories with music.
You just made me sad a bit. Like that compared to like binge watching The Office or something. It's like
times are good.
I was just watching The Office.
Shots fired, bro. I'm sorry.
but more recently than before, I've been listening to a lot of classical these days.
Yeah.
And it just takes you on this ride like you were talking about. And
it's really awesome.
And it can take you from like feeling you're on the cloud to you're in the depths of hell. And then it pulls you back into this comfort level. It's just gorgeous.
Really,
you know?
really. Yeah. I mean, I listen to like a lot of like mostly piano while I paint and stuff. And man, it's just, I think it allows more room for me to like think while I'm painting too. Cause like, I've painted to Kendrick and it's just not the same, you know?
I drive with a lot of classical. I mean, I used to anyway. And I just feel like it's something, especially if you're painting, like you need to focus, but there maybe something is not allowing you to focus. And this is giving your mind something to chew on a little bit. Like that part of that monkey brain has a little something to fucking play with now.
And there's all these emotional swells, you know?
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Does that like affect your art directly?
Yeah, definitely. I would relate like, you know, if you're in an emotional swell of a song, like you could be thinking more in depth about like the message that you're painting and like,
or suddenly the color becomes more vibrant.
Yeah, you know, accentuating certain things. Yeah, more willing in certain facets.
We've talked about this a bunch. I only went to ceremony once, but like I learned something really important, and it's like I was like dead tired. I was like really like run through the washing machine, you know, and they were playing music and it was like the lyrics are literally like repeating I am grateful and everyone is singing, and like I suddenly had so much energy and I just like sat up straight and I had this realization that, I mean, I couldn't have realized it without the music, but I realized that I had way more energy than I thought.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe not the music gives you energy, but the music gives you permission to explore another feeling that is still accessible, but you're just telling yourself it isn't. And after painting for 6 hours, you might fucking need something like that, you know? Like,
yeah, well, it's almost like, you know, going to the gym and like throwing on some, I don't know, what do people listen to at the gym?
Thrice would be good to work out.
Sometimes a song just gives you that boost out of nowhere, and it's like, holy shit, I had this whole storage that I wasn't even aware of. And like that song, you're grateful you're talking about, it saved me this whole weekend, you know?
Oh, dude, it's so powerful.
There's moments where I'm just like, I have not even an inch left to live, and then this song plays, and I'm just like, just singing with everyone all of a sudden, you know?
Everyone in the room singing too.
A crazy experience.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it's something.
Yeah, it definitely is something. That's the perfect way to put it.
Are you curious? Are you?
Honestly, like I've done psychedelics before, and I had one particularly hard experience.
I like how you said hard instead of bad.
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. It's good to use the right language though, because some people will get turned off if they hear bad trip.
Yeah, it was just, I was in like, I don't know, I had never felt anxiety before, and that was the first time that I felt really deep anxiety. And I was by myself through circumstance. I wasn't alone originally, but the person I was with got sick
during the experience.
Yeah, okay. they were ill to their stomach, and so we all split up. I was with a bunch of girls. Everything was fine. Everything was great. And then I ended up home alone. Oh my God. And I just started looking at myself in the mirror, and then I undressed and looked at myself in the mirror, and I just stood there, and I was like dating someone really attentive at the time, and I was really comfortable around him. But when he called me to see if I was okay, I couldn't express to him that I wasn't, and I needed him to come home. All I could say was, no, I'm fine. Please stay out. No, I want to be alone. I don't know why, but I just like proceeded to just feel the worst I had ever felt. This like no reason anxiety, feeling like I was like falling. Yeah. The only thing that saved me was my cat.
Oh man,
that's quite a savior though.
Yeah.
Cats are so
Pokemon of my life. She just like ran towards me, her fur fluffing in the wind.
You just touched on so many things I'm not going to remember. Like I don't know. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there. First of all, cats are fucking wise. I don't get it, man. Like I was bummed out
at the ceremony. Those cats were just like watching you at some points.
Wow.
And for some reason, they stuck with me most of the trip, like the whole weekend.
You're like one of them at this point, man. They're like, hey, it's that
maybe
big
that's
cat.
it, because they never paid attention to me before. But then I'm like sleeping, and he's like in between my lap sleeping, and then the next morning I'm on the couch just relaxing. The nether one's on me. It's like the whole weekend was cat themed for me. I'm like, shit, okay, maybe I need a cat. I mean, this is a sign.
You got all the chill, dude. You fucking earned it. You know.
I think they're like guardians. You know.
Yeah.
There's something up
in
with
those
them.
situations.
Yeah.
I was feeling like shit today. You know, you guys know what's going on. And then I'm at Johnny's, and he has this cat that's like usually a fucking asshole. I don't know how else to put it. Like this cat's like, you know, like you start petting her, she wants attention, and then she like just, and I'm like, what did I do? Yeah. You started this. And yeah, she just like, I don't know, I was just on the couch and I was like feeling darkest shade of blue, and like she just sat next to me and start blue.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But that's it.
She sat next to me, started purring, and just like I just started petting her, and
they act on a different set of. They're not on language. They're on emotion and feeling. You know,
For
and
sure.
she got your vibe and just comforted you.
But one of the things that you touched on, because like I said, you touched on a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about, and I don't know which one to start first, but like, you know, people have like a broken English and they still try to speak to each other. They kind of default to like a more emotional language, and like cats are picking up, you know, that's all they can do. They even just meow for us, apparently. That's like a random fact.
That's
but like,
cute.
Yeah, I know. It's like they don't
thanks.
meow to each other. It's like they're trying to talk to you.
That's
but
true.
like you were saying, you just had this like reflex to speak a certain way and to kind of like not.
Yeah.
Like when you needed it most, you couldn't like be straight with the person, and I totally fucking understand that place. And I mean, I don't know if you have the answer. I'm just asking like the room, what the fuck's up with that? Why when we need it the most, we go like, oh, it's fine. And like if they were in the room with you, they'd see that you're like,
I think it's
easier on the phone, but you're just like, no, it's cool. It's cool, man.
I think those are walls, ego traps, where you don't want to show too much vulnerability.
Yeah, totally. I was afraid of judgment. I wasn't in control of myself, and therefore, this is a heavy thing I'm saying. This is something I've lived my entire life. When I'm not in control of myself, no one can be near me.
Mm.
And
why is that?
Because I'm a control freak.
So it's like a big bruise on the ego. Like you're not in control, so you're just kind of lashing out.
I think less now. You know, like I said, I'm working on myself every day.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that like if I'm not in control, I might make a mistake. And if I make a mistake, I might be judged. I might be ridiculed. I might be seen a different way.
You might hurt somebody. That's yours,
eh?
That's a little baggage for Sammy. I don't know.
I'm not sure that's in my bag. My bag is mostly like everyone hates me.
Is the judgment really external though? Because I've been having these ideas through all my psychedelic experience that judgment is purely you're using other people as a mirror of your judgment towards yourself.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And because a big thing this weekend for me was I wrote a song and started playing guitar like 6 months ago. And like the big thing I was telling Sammy is I want to perform this song during ceremony. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this was like building up was just these judgments. Oh, they're going to think it's shit, all this. But it was really just my projections back on me through them, you know? So I was always wondering that like that's what's holding us back when there's usually that fear of people, what they're going to think of you.
Yeah. I think that is like, again, another Mama Ru thing, the saboteur. Like we all have like this critic and this like, I call it the jailer, the person that keeps you in jail. I mean, it's kind of, it's something we're talking a lot about in our art group. It's, you know, I think we all have this voice inside us that really means well. That's like, oh my God, you're going to get hurt. Don't show them your vulnerability. Don't show him you're sick. Yeah. Don't show, you know, this, that, and the next thing. And, you know, as much as it's trying to help, it's a cage.
Yeah.
We live in a society in where we're more than welcome to release who we are in a society where I think vulnerability is power. But like, you know, since we're born, all we want is to be accepted. So
where is that voice formed though? That's what I'm trying to find, is that voice where it's kind of the prisoner, the prison voice where it's holding you back from expressing and holding you back from being vulnerable. Where did that start?
I don't know.
For me, like, I think there's like different areas of your life where those things are developed. I think that there's like a lot of people, like when you're born, you're super vulnerable. You're the most vulnerable you'll ever be physically. Your head is soft. You're a baby, you know? And as you grow older, you're still very dependent on your parents. I don't want to be all Freudian about it, but like, it's our job as children, like, really in a physical sense, to please our parents, because if our parents don't love us, you know, in like that deep way, that like we're afraid that we'll be abandoned and that no one will take care of us. I mean, yes, we have adoption agencies now. We live in a society where we're equipped for this, but it's the fear. It's the fear. It's the human fear of, well, this person cares for me. So right off the bat, you know, when your parent is like, no, don't do that, you're bad. Like, for example, you know, if you were caught reading a Playboy, you might, but you might carry shame about how your parents made you feel, and like masturbation is dirty and this and that, which isn't necessarily true. But you start to judgment. You know, and then your girlfriend finds a Playboy in your apartment. And you're like, oh my God. And she's like, it's no big deal. And you're like, I'm like, I don't want to share this with you. I don't want to share my fantasies, my fetishes. Again, this is one example that could start really early on in childhood. Yeah. You know, other people, you know, someone who isn't attractive and it's hard for them in school. Everyone rejects them, you know. Everyone's got baggage, and it all, I think it nicely peppered all throughout our lives.
And a lot about growth is we seek external and like new tips for personal growth, but a lot of growth is really at its core is undoing a lot of programmings that are just embedded from those moments that maybe when you were like 6 or 7 years old, something happened and they said no. And then your whole life, that pattern that you modified, you've operated on that pattern your whole life.
Yeah.
So and there's like a lock and key situation. Like, it's sometimes you have to like journal it out. Sometimes you have to like almost die and have like your perspective change. Sometimes you need to talk to a therapist for like a few months and like go, oh shit, is that what I'm thinking?
I was in therapy for 2 years before I started to feel better.
Wow.
I can't wait to start. I have like benefits at work, and I'm realizing it's necessary. And I mean, it's on a personal level, I'm very much like let's say on like a intellectual level, I understand the pointlessness of visiting other people's intentions, because I have no idea what the fuck is going on in somebody else's head. I barely know what's going on. I barely have fucking, you know, real estate in my own fucking brain. So to like, you know, to simulate what someone else might be thinking is fucking pointless. But I do it all the time. You know, like in the heart, like in the body. I can't help it. I realize it all the time. I have these like irrational fears. They might not be like phobias per se, but it's like I put so much on other people, and it's like they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't say that. They didn't mean that when they said that thing. Like, I had this long conversation with my brother just yesterday, and it's like, you know, he gets aggravated at me because I'm like raising my voice. I'm getting loud, but I'm trying to tell him something, and he's being quiet, but he's like physically threatening me, you know, but like he doesn't mean it. He's just trying to get me to calm down, and I'm trying to like convey a message, but I'm screaming at him. So like, you know, like it's an intense moment when we can't really communicate, you know, but there's so much being said that we're not able to listen to because we're focusing on what we think is being said. And it's really just like an ego thing. It's really just what you're afraid to hear. So then you're like, oh, I knew it. And you're like, oh, I get to be angry. And there's something kind of addictive about that. And then you get to be a victim, and it's very unconscious. It's
totally. I think like communicating clearly is so, and like a big part about because we think like, oh, communicating clearly, like I'm going to be clear. That means saying all your shit.
Yeah.
The shit you're afraid to say, and like word it properly, word it like with proper intentions, like
a lot of preamble, a lot of like this is, I'm not blaming you, but, and I know this might sound weird, but like you gotta say that for like,
if someone says like, oh, can you do this, you know, and you're like, like I don't want to, or I'm afraid that I'm gonna fuck up, then say like, my fear is that I'm gonna let you down. You know, but
it comes out as like, stop putting this pressure on me.
Yeah, like for sure, because of stress and anxiety.
You just hold it in and then pop.
Yeah. I don't know if you do this, but I do this a lot. Is I try not to speak right away. I give myself a lot of time to think about what the person is saying and to think about what I'm going to say before I say anything at all. Like my sister always jokes that when I'm mad, I go, I'd turn into like dead silence. Like I'm a rock. She calls it Rambo mode. I don't know why, but like
I guess it's intimidating.
Yeah, you just can't like. I need to process. That's a big part of it for me. And like I make a mental effort when I process to like think with love and good intention and positivity.
It turns into an intellectual defense mechanism because your emotion is just I want to fight or I want to
like knowing to breathe and like shut your fucking mouth for a little bit, you know, and just like, well, how do I actually feel about this? Like
or what do I really want to happen here, even though I might feel like
taking that brief pause before you have a reaction is so vital to a lot of things that we do on a day. Like instead of acting on impulse, you might just say, even though you're feeling a certain way, you might express it completely different. But if you have that breathe moment and then you go through what you've been processing, it's usually going to come out way easier to the other person and it's going to be expressed way better for your end.
Yeah. And you can communicate that to people too. You can say like, I actually just need like a minute. You know, or I'll get back to you tomorrow if that's okay.
It's a boundaries thing. Like,
for
it's
sure,
tough, yeah. It can be tough. Yeah. A lot of people give me that because they realize I get flustered. It's kind of embarrassing, but like it is what it is. People are like, "Hey, man, you don't have to decide right now." I'm like, "Thank you."
But nice, but that's good.
But I honestly used to have that instinct because I realized I was just being emotional. But personally speaking, like my family, they don't have that problem. You know, they're very certain, they're very quick, they're very let's do this right now. They know what they want, they know what they need, and I'm just there like debating, weighing out, like unsure, doubt, and then they're like, bro, choose something. You know, it's like they only have so much patience, and then even though that might happen just like once, I'm sure it's more than once, but like it's not every time. I start imposing that, and now I have this voice in my head that is them telling me to hurry up, and it becomes this like the jailer, like you said.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
Totally, like, and it's not like everyone thinks that you take your time with things. I never thought that about you. These are just apparently what your impatient family thinks. No, love them.
Hey, they're probably not listening. Yeah. They're fucking impatient. I mean, compared to me, like I don't know. I can be, short.
It makes me feel better about all my faults. Here's a tip. I take my faults and I see the quality in them because every quality is a fault and every fault is a quality. People call me bossy. I'm a boss. People call me chatty. I'm passionate.
There's even an expression in French my mom uses all the time because, like, I don't know, this describing my brother because he's really driven and it can be annoying sometimes, but he gets shit done. And my mom says, "Il a les qualités de ses défauts." He has the vices of his virtues. Like that's just who he is. There's good and bad to that. You can't escape it. Yeah. It's who you are, and you can. It's spin. It's literally spin. And we were talking about the power of language before. Like it's worth something. Yeah, you're not just like reframing it for convenience sake. Like if something is fucking your life up, then you got to look inside and change yourself and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, you is who you is, and if you work around that or work with that, then you're cultivating some kind of freedom. A lot of it
is becoming aware of those things first. And once you have awareness of those qualities of yourself, then you can honestly look at yourself and not change, but manifest and cultivate what you got.
Yeah, you can work it, you know?
But if you're not even aware of what you're operating on...
pride.
a little healthy pride, absolutely. But sometimes maybe your environment is what's toxic to that quality that you have, you know? And so there's all these things, but the first takes is looking through the shit. And sometimes that shit smells, but you got to look through it all, you know?
Definitely. I think like your environment too, like if you're around people, like I said, like some people think I'm bossy, some people think I'm a boss. It's not like I don't listen to the people that think I'm bossy. Like I take a glance with my peripheral vision, you know, I just take a look. I'm like, okay, they think I'm bossy. I'll take note of that. But like, I try to hang out with people who think I'm a boss, and it gives me confidence to do things that affirm that position.
Yeah. There's more good than harm in that. Like you might miss the flag, but if you said it yourself, you know, you're taking a look, but moving on. And like, if you are surrounding yourself with people who are genuinely happy for your success and trying to uplift you, which is, you know, that second part is not even mandatory, but it's fucking awesome if it's there. And if they're all saying something, you might even not notice, you might not even pick up on it right away, but eventually you'll be like, oh, they were right. You know, like I missed the flags on that one.
Yeah.
But you can bounce back. It's no big deal, but there's okay to get a little delay there, because someone like me who's going to jump the gun and they're not even throwing up the flag yet, you know, and then I'm putting all this pressure on myself and you know, the jailer. I really like that concept.
Yeah.
It just feels like I'm putting walls on myself, and there's so many walls already. Like, life is full of rules and limitations, and we have to navigate this shit.
They don't promote you opening your walls. That's another problem. You know?
Yeah. Being
vulnerable is not something that's common you see day to day. I mean, it's starting to change now. We're seeing more and more of that, but that's not something that's not asked of you. It's kind of something that's pushed on the side. You know, don't feel this way. Suppress that.
Yeah.
Get back to work. You know,
it's important to be with people who like the vulnerable side of you and who urge you to be vulnerable. Wolf Lab, man, I'm so vulnerable all the time.
That's
and those
beautiful.
girls are all my best friends. And it's like so beneficial because you do believe the messages you're told over and over again. You know, if you can't make up your mind, Sammy, make up your mind.
Oh, sorry.
You know, you're going to start to believe those things about yourself. But if you're like, oh, Sammy, like, I like the way you really take your time to think about things. He's really pensive. He's really introspective. You're going to start to believe those things.
Tribe.
And like, yeah, your tribe, and also like what you tell yourself. Those are messages you hear all the time too. You know, if you look at yourself in the morning when you're brushing your teeth and you're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. You know, you don't even have to say it out loud. You just look at yourself and that's what you think. Those are messages you're receiving and you believe those.
It becomes a mantra again.
Yeah, you believe what you're told.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that because you were talking a lot about mindfulness, and that sounds like that's in line with those kind of techniques.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, like, what kind of techniques of mindfulness you were using.
I was curious also, like, what came first? Like, was it kind of born through the need to paint, or did you need to get that and then paint?
Like, I used to paint a long time ago, and not that long ago.
Still like a decade though. Like,
yeah, I've been painting a long time, but I stopped. And it was when I saw my therapist for pretty like bad anxiety and depression that we figured out that would be my meditative tool. And that it was also a good place for me to deposit good intentions back into myself. You know, when you're painting, you're not painting for anyone else, you're painting for you. Much like the podcast, like we were saying before. But for the mindfulness techniques, this is so funny because I just told the Wolf Lab girls this story and it was a hoot. But I read this in a book that was prescribed to me and it really works. I wore an elastic. Well, first of all,
this thing?
Yeah.
It's an old but good trick.
It's a good trick. They asked you to first name the negative voice. The voice that tells you, you know, you can't do it. The voice that says, don't put your paintings, you know, on Expo. Everyone's going to laugh at you. The voice that tells you like, ugh, you know, just eat the second piece of pizza. You're fat anyway, like whatever. So I named mine Francine, and it was with like a negative connotation to somebody that I knew. And it sort of encouraged you to name it something with a negative connotation. So, and to talk back to those thoughts. So, you know, if you were like I'm just going to sleep in and I'll be late to work. It doesn't matter. Nobody likes me there anyway. They're going to be like, no, like, you know what? You looked really good yesterday. Let's try that haircut again. And, you know, we'll wear a different suit jacket and you're going to feel great. So after a while of, you know, talking back to Francine, it urged you to name the positive voice. So I named mine Sophia. Which is what I always wanted to name my daughter, but I can't because my mom's French and it's like Sophia. It's not good.
It doesn't sound so good.
So, and you were supposed to wear an elastic band. And I had one of those like old school 90s one that had like the metal prong on it. You know, it's a hair elastic.
Solid.
And every time that you would hear Francine, you flick the elastic so that you associate the emotional pain that you're causing yourself with the physical pain that you're causing yourself. And it's called a cognitive exercise because your body literally physiologically reacts to, I'm not going to do that again because, you know, you electrocute a hamster. It's not going to go for the cheese, you know?
Yeah.
So eventually, not only did I stop through, you know, a process of like subconscious reaction to this pain, stop really saying these words about myself and these ideas, but I also started to really realize how much harm it was causing me because I could feel it physically. And less and less the Francine voice was present and the Sophia voice became the dominant voice. And it's really like, you know, I of course Francine is still there from time to time, and like I said, you know, it's well-meaning. It's just there to protect me, but I'm aware that as a human being I can achieve more by simply being aware of Francine instead of being in that jailer mentality, and where I am paralyzed by my fear and my anxiety.
And she's not driving the ship anymore. It's you.
Yeah. You gotta let Sophia take you to live a badass life. You know, you only get to live it once.
I guess it's like you have two co-pilots, or like angel and a devil on the shoulder, sort of.
Yeah.
Like you're always the one
That's
driving. I'm trying a plethora of fucking techniques, you know, and a lot of them are working a little bit, and I'm sure I'll find something.
Takes time.
I like this one though.
Yeah, when I wake up in the morning and I look at myself in the mirror, like my internal monologue is definitely a positive one. It's not a negative one. I like who I am. I had like some random dude on Instagram message me once and be like, "What are your worst qualities?" And I was like, "Okay, first of all, who the fuck are you?"
I love that.
Second of all, like I was like, none. I fucking love myself. And he's like, "No, you must have like something you don't like about yourself." And I'm like, I'm not here to sit down and discuss with you, you know, things that, you know,
It's
like me shitting on myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I really like who I am. Like thank you.
you're-
Have a nice day.
Yeah. Like he's asking you to let Francine talk. Essentially, he's just like, "Come on, give me the shit.
And it just
Like, give me the
seemed-
shit." It's
But
like,
what
why
was
would
the
you?
point of that?
He was flirting with me, which is I think was even more telling about like sort of our society. Like, ooh, like what don't you like about yourself? I'm sure he wanted to tell me different, but
It's a little
I was-
manipulative.
yeah, well, you know. I love guys.
It's
They're
indirect.
great.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, I just was very telling about how we sort of assume most people ride this wave of really disliking who they are. And that is like, and you know, maybe it was manipulative and he was going to prey on that, which also goes to show that, you know, when you hate yourself, you leave yourself vulnerable to other people to do so.
Yeah.
To pick on that, to pick up on that.
Fill the void.
Yeah.
As it were.
Well, it's usually people with insecurities or low self-esteem. They seek that type of person, the one
Yeah.
that can manipulate them and make them feel good for their moments and give them that control over themselves. And I have a friend right now who's going through a very toxic relationship, and it's really when you strip away everything, it comes down to the value he has for himself, and it's so low that he finds it through more abuse.
It's like a mirroring.
Yeah.
It's like this is the level that I.
This is
think
the best I can
deserve
get,
or something.
or
Yeah,
some twisted thing like that. But it all starts about self-love, what we've been talking about this whole podcast.
Right. It is like a total vicious cycle, right? He's seeking love from somebody who won't give it to him, so he continues to seek it, you know?
Yeah.
I heard a story about how they did an experiment on laboratory mice or rats or whatever, in that there's like a distribution pattern for reward that was very telling about, you know, living nature, in that if you constantly reward a mouse with cheese every time it pushes a button, and then you stop it suddenly, the mouse will let go. Oh, no more cheese, it's fine. But if you only habitually, or if you only occasionally give the mouse cheese when it pushes the button, like say you give it to the mouse every third time it pushes the button, and then suddenly every second time, fifth time, you change the pattern and you make it inconsistent. The reward is inconsistent. The rat will have a harder time leaving the target when the food is gone. Whoa. It'll stay there 30 days, 40 days trying to get this cheese that's never going to come to it because the pattern of love and reward is inconsistent.
That's fucked up.
Food for thought.
You just ruined gambling for everybody.
Well, that's it.
It's that uncertainty that makes it more.
Well, that's the casino plays off that mechanism.
Absolutely.
They make the odds so close, but
You
still
just
not in your
stressed me
favor.
out.
Yeah, and you know, it's just, it goes to show also that, you know, if we're like in healthy relationships with other human beings, and it's much easier to leave than, you know, if you're being manipulated and being given inconsistent attention, then you don't know when to leave because you don't know that abuse, that manipulation.
moments of
does
good.
it exist or does it not exist?
There's moments where you get the cheese and you're like, fuck yeah, there's some love here. And it's that same mechanism that those mice are going through.
It is like a strong comment about why people who are being abused stay so long, because those moments that are good, that are so fleeting, they just crave it and they hope if they push the button one more time, you know,
It's going to come.
It's going to come.
Versus if they're getting that daily, then maybe they're not used to that, but it's a self-esteem issue that has to be worked through.
Yeah, that's why people say, oh, like, oh, he treats you so good. Like, why don't you care? You know, it's like, it's this human nature thing. Don't realize how, like, oh, well, that's why we take things for granted.
Mm.
Wow.
Humans are weird.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's 8 on the dot. You said you had to go, no?
Yeah, we can.
I'm
ease
good if
through
you are.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure we got a few more things to
Wow,
wiggle
but
in.
that just blew my mind. I want to meditate on this whole thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting thoughts at bay here.
Yeah, it's like stressing me out a little. It's like, fuck, man. Like, it's not as simple as like the love you think you deserve. It's like you can be kind of tricked into like, oh no, I need this. And it's like, well, it's like bad like 50% of the time. It's like, yeah, but what about that other 50%? And I don't know when it's coming, so I gotta double down right now. And it's like,
I think that's why there's tools like therapy and psychedelics and really looking inwards, meditation, all mindfulness and all things. These are necessities. Yeah. Because our minds are operating on these programmings from fucking generations, from ancestors, from your whole life. And unless you zoom in on each one, you're living on autopilot.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time where, like, you know, we'd live to be 35 years old, and there was a point in time in where we would slaughter all kinds of, you know, people. Like we were talking about the Crusades and everything, how there were times that were darker. I feel like as we evolve, the more information that we can to sustain our physical body and our emotional body, we're learning more and more about, you know, what it means to be peaceful as a people and peaceful within ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, so I always say like going to therapy is like going to the gym for your soul.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot.
Jacked.
Yeah, boy. Look at this love bicep.
Do you even lift?
Do you even love yourself, bro? It's true that like I still have a hard time like integrating it. I hate to admit, but I mean it's coming with time. And the podcast is like a little bit of a therapy for me too.
Definitely.
We say that.
Absolutely.
But like my brother was pointing out, like we were saying earlier, like there's something really important about the micro. If you get lost in the macro, it's like a kind of like overwhelming minutia that's not really like serving you. But if you just, you know, you think you have the weight of the world, you think you have a good reason to feel bad, but even in the most horrible times, a lot of it is perspective and reps, literally just daily practice, a little bit of chipping away. And next thing you know, you have like a marble statue, you know, and you're like, how did I do this?
You cultivated it.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as going in the mirror in the morning and just instead of catching yourself calling I'm an ugly piece of shit or whatever your internal dialogue is, just catching it and switching it. And doing that for 100 days or 30 days or 10 days is going to start the snowball effect, and then everything else is slowly going to start changing because you're becoming aware. You know,
we don't have anything like that in our lives unless we force ourselves to or if we're raised like that, if we're lucky, you know, like you have to learn it. Like if you're a farmer, you get that. You're literally cultivating shit all day. You're like, I got to do this random thing. Like you brought up the bamboo thing. You know, like you have to water this ground and nothing's even showing up and you have to do it for years.
5 years.
And then suddenly you have a fucking bamboo forest and it's like, I don't have something like that in my life. I never really have. You know, like I just had the love of my family. I didn't have to earn it. I just had a body that was like relatively functional and ninja. And like, I never really had to put time into anything. I was like naturally good at music. I didn't really put time into it. Now I'm realizing, you know, like it's kind of sad. But it's also like, you know, to each their own. Like, I'm getting it now.
Well, look at this.
Yeah.
This is episode like 26.
Definitely.
That's dope.
You know, and that's what you're talking about. Already looking back and be like, whoa, where did this come from? We're 26 weeks in, man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty amazing. I think that's pretty incredible.
That's really
and
something.
maybe it's really hit you on the head when we're at episode 100 or something like that, you know? But
oh, dude,
this is cultivation right now.
Episode 50, we're going to fucking steak dinners, bro.
Episode 100.
Good cheval. We're going to get hammered. I don't know what, something.
Yeah.
Definitely. You should. You should. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. And like, that's the thing is like, you got to, I think the key and the secret is that you've got to kind of love yourself, even if you didn't have this. You got to love yourself no matter what. Your greatest relationship, you're like, oh, I need this person. Fuck that. You need you.
Absolutely.
You're gonna die with you. That's it. You know, you might be lucky and grow old with someone, but you're gonna die with you. That's the person. You can't break up with yourself.
You can't. Yeah. You're the one who has to go to sleep every night.
Yeah.
You have to do what you have to do to be able to do that.
You know,
and no one else can do that.
If one day you got sick and you couldn't do this podcast anymore, you wouldn't be any less Sammy.
Yeah.
You know, you have to love yourself regardless. And that love for yourself is what will propel you to keep doing things like this.
Yeah,
in whatever capacity that is.
The way that translates for me, the way I kind of already understand it, and maybe it's a bad thing to throw it in a box that I already own. But anyway, it's like knowing myself, I don't know if this applies to everybody, but I really need to be in that space first before I can do something like the podcast. You know, like I'm not going to do this and then feel validated. It doesn't work. It never has. As soon as I feel shitty, I don't play music. I don't write. I don't do like these things that just come out of me. I feel like a muse. I feel like something can really come out. It's not there unless I'm already loving myself. It really is. It's like, you know, I think I don't even realize it often, but personally I put the fucking carriage in front of the horse often. And it's like, I gotta cultivate like the space to be able to do these things because they have a value on their own, sure. But it's a different thing. It's community. It's sharing. It's on fucking thin. It's on shaky legs. It's like you said. You know, you could just get sick or something. You know, like there's this woman who was like a professional skier, like an Olympic skier, and she fucking bailed so hard, like on a jump that was like landing on a street, and then like a truck ran over. Like crazy shit happened, and she was so fucked up, dude. When they talk about the surgery, she did like a TED talk too, and. Like she would stand up for a few minutes and then like go and like have a chair and then like sit down on the chair because like she can't stand for long. I've seen
this TED talk actually.
And she had a few chairs, so as she was speaking, she would like move to the next chair and it would kind of be like a timing for her. It was really interesting. But she's a pilot now. Yeah. She's like, I got a new set of cards. I got to do this now. And actually, you know, like Alexa, you know, she was gonna almost be a pilot and then she started getting like air sick or whatever.
Yeah, realized it wasn't hers.
And now she's like, now she's doing like osteo and stuff. Like, it's like next.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, life throws you some fucking curveballs sometimes. Yeah. You know, I like we all have our cross to bear. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will.
Yeah, sorry, but sorry, not sorry, man.
I think it's important. It's important not to identify with your craft as if your craft is you. Like it is a translation of what you're trying to admit into the craft. But if that craft, like if you got sick and the podcast is done, like that, your identity is not over. The Sammy story is just keep going. Next opportunity. Or whatever it
everything has those shaky legs. Like we're gonna die. Like everything is shaky legs.
Of course,
so you know, just ride it and fucking play the Sophia voice and enjoy life.
And you know, we all die, but I think that's almost like the romance of it. Yes. You know, what are you gonna do before then?
This would suck if it was forever. If you really think about it, why bother doing anything if you know there was no end to it?
It'd be a different set of problems for sure. Wouldn't fix anything. It would fix death, but then.
But you might not be as urgent to do a craft or whatever it is because you know the time is infinite.
Yeah, I don't know how that would really affect purpose. I think that is really, what do you live for when you live forever?
But maybe it's the same thing. Like what you just said. Like, I don't know, what's that guy? The Book of Five Rings, Miyamoto Musashi.
Oh yes.
So he says like you know the way deeply and you'll know it in all things. You know, so maybe there's this personalization of art or whatever, expressing yourself and being okay with yourself, not being able to express yourself in the way that you're used to, all these things, you know? In a similar vein, people say the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. If that's true, then that means it's because you are who you are and the things you're doing all the time.
The soul.
Anyway.
That was nice.
On that
really
note,
lovely.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.